Hello. I thought, it would probably be beneficial to future employees if I put together a little instructional video for the supervisors and management staff at Swedish Medical Group in Seattle, now under the umbrella of the Christian organization Providence. Let's see what they say about anxiety disorders. The symptoms of anxiety disorder. Oh, we have an advertisement. I have to skip through this part. Okay.
I'm Dr. David Thomas. I'm a practicing psychotherapist with the Whitford Thomas Group in Tampa, Florida, to discuss high anxiety symptoms. High anxiety...
Just wanted to point out that this is the first video I went to. I just typed symptoms of anxiety on YouTube, and this little 2-minute and 20-second video popped up. So,
in my frame and my thinking is an extreme form of anxiety. We tend to see that when we diagnose panic as well as anxiety attacks. So if we look at high anxiety being a more severe form of anxiety, you can kind of liken it to all your anxiety symptoms that oftentimes kind of come and go or kind of transient, tend to kind of emerge all at one time in the system. What are some of those symptoms? Well, certainly when we look at anxiety and we talk about fear, there's a rush, a kind of a hyper sensitivity in the system. Oftentimes what you see is the heart, the palpitations tend to be very fast.
Flight or fight instinct.
It's kind of a racing heart, racing ideas, skin moisture,
panic,
tension in the head, muscle aches,
headaches,
stomach problems, restlessness, sleep disorders, a sense of doom, a sense of wanting to run.
Out of somebody's office.
Concentration issues and things of that sort.
Concentration issues.
So when we have this kind of heightened or this kind of high anxiety symptoms, it's almost like all these symptoms kind of merge at one time in the system and produce a very severe or dramatic effect.
Dramatic effect.
Treatment-wise, it's pretty much the same. Cognitive behavior psychotherapy with or without medications. At that time, when you're experiencing a high level of anxiety, you probably want to learn different breathing techniques, relaxation techniques. So
I had a paper bag in the desk drawer.
With a little bit of work and help, you can certainly focus on the thinking that drives the anxiety, but without some prior training, it's kind of tough to focus on challenging and disputing the thinking at that time.
Kind of hard to focus on that.
We do that mainly in our practice with cognitive behavior psychotherapy. Well, I hope this information has been helpful regarding high anxiety. From Tampa, Florida, I'm Dr. David Thomas.
Yes, I got...
I'm Dr. David
oops,
Thomas.
We have to pause him or he's going to repeat himself. I got reprimanded twice for making a escape from a supervisor's office when I was feeling trapped and very on the verge of having a panic attack at work, rather than have a panic attack at work, which would be incredibly humiliating and very uncomfortable and even more unprofessional than beating a hasty retreat so I could try to breathe at my desk with my paper bag rather than... I mean, in my situation and the 2 times that I was dealing with supervisors that made me very stressed out, I had a choice. Either escape the office and try to do breathing at my desk or have a meltdown in the office. I chose the first. I was reprimanded. The first time it happened, I was put on warning. Like I could have some kind of control over this. Oh, and the other thing I was told at Swedish was, if you're having a bad day, just stay home. Don't come to work. That was fine and well when I had extended leave or EIB, extended illness benefit. But when you run out of EIB and you stop getting paid if you don't go to work, and you got a condo to pay for and animals to pay for and bills to pay for and you don't have any PTO either. Let's see, are you just going to stay home and not get paid and not be able to pay rent, or my mortgage, or my car payment, or any of the other things that I need to pay for? Or am I going to try to go to work and do my job as much as I can as a normal person? I chose to go to work. I have tried my very hardest to go to work and at least try to work as much of a full day as I could. Some days, see, I don't just have depression. I have anxiety and depression. And sometimes I can't even get out of bed. The depression is so bad. Those are the days that I used to stay home for the whole day until I ran out of EIB. And then I was starting to not get paid for the days that I couldn't get out of bed. So I put forth a great deal of effort to get out of bed, to try to focus instead of on how crappy I feel, to try to focus on other things like going to work, like doing my job, like being a productive person, trying to find a little sense of self-worth in the fact that I have a job and that I'm contributing to society. I was marked up. I was written up for twice leaving a manager's office or a supervisor's office because they had the door closed and they were more or less making me feel attacked. And I got punished for that. And when I went to managers to tell them, this person really stresses me out, and I feel like when I'm at work, I would like to do a full day's work. I feel badly if I am not earning my money, my wage. And so if I'm feeling like I'm not functioning to the best of my abilities because somebody stresses me out so bad, or maybe the position stresses me out so bad, I asked repeatedly to have a different position, or at the very least sit in a different desk, because this desk that I sat in, and had sat in that desk for almost 11 years. I sat at that desk when I was going through divorce. I sat at that desk when I had to watch my mom mentally unravel. I sat at that desk during the time that I had to find out the guy that I took care of who pretended to be my friend while he had Hep C and lived in my house, and I supported him for 3 years. I found out that he wasn't my friend. I sat at the desk I sat at that desk during the time that the bartender did what he did. This desk was not a healthy thing. I asked repeatedly to move. I asked repeatedly if I could be put in some other kind of position. And I asked repeatedly for a different supervisor when I lost the one supervisor that I had for a long time, who was very nurturing and supportive and approachable. And anyway, so Swedish, next time you have a worker who is on FMLA and therefore supposedly protected against being terminated for something that they can't help, maybe you can use this video as a way to review what the symptoms are of the illness that this person is protected for. I have anxiety and depression. That's what I take meds for. That's what I'm in treatment for. That's what the FMLA was for, and it was supposed to protect me from having things count against me that were related to the illness that I couldn't help. How to recognize depression symptoms. Okay, I just typed in symptoms of depression because I figured it would be good to have. And I think this might even be the same doctor. He looks very familiar. What are the signs and symptoms of depression? This is the thing that kept me from getting out of bed in the morning. Let's see what this guy says.
Symptoms of depression. I think most people are fairly familiar with the symptoms and signs of depression, but certainly a loss of interest in pleasurable activities. For some, a loss of libido or sex drive. Depression oftentimes will create this sense of helplessness or hopelessness. Helplessness, there's not anything I can do about changing the things in my life. Hopelessness is that it will never get any better. Other signs and symptoms of depression can be sleep disorders in the form of sleep disturbance, where you either can get to sleep but you don't tend to sleep well, or which is kind of insomnia at times, or that you tend to sleep all the time
and you
more
can't
so
get out of
avoidance.
bed.
Some people have trouble eating, some people eat all the time. Drinking is another behavior that oftentimes we see with depression. Depression is a sense of fatigue, tiredness, lack of energy, poor concentration. Those are all kind of the various different signs and symptoms of depression. But understand that everybody experiences depression differently, in not just severity, but the length of time that they experience depression. One shoe doesn't fit all here. Well, hopefully this information that I provide you regarding the signs and symptoms of depression has been helpful. From sunny Tampa, Florida, I'm Dr. David Thomas.
Yay, Dr. David Thomas. Yes. But for me, depression manifests itself as I'm oversensitive. I take things too much to heart. When he's talking about thoughts drive depression, it's incredibly true. Distorted thinking drives depression. That walking around feeling like you're not good enough, that you're not any good, that you have no value, that people don't like you, that, you know, I mean, technically, my last video that I made about Swedish could have a very good example of that. I suspect that part of the reason why I was fired is because I think the manager found out I was an atheist, and I think it had something to do with that. I said that right in my video. But I have nothing to prove it. That could be a good example of distorted thinking. I suspect something, I immediately assume, or I take, instead of just considering a suspicion, I put it out there like, this happened, and then I react to it like it's true, when really it's just a suspicion. Distorted thinking is anything where you think that you know what somebody else is thinking. Oh, they don't like me. They're looking at me funny. Oh, they're talking behind my back. And they might not even talk about you. They might be talking about someone else completely. Any kind of distorted thinking where you have a I wish ... instead of seeing the world as it is and loving what is, you're seeing the world as the way you wish it could be, and feeling bad that it's not that way. I mean, there's all kinds of distorted thinking, but yeah, thoughts drive depression. Feeling of inadequacy, feeling like you're not worthy, feeling like, every time you turn around, somebody wants to screw you over. In my case, I got to feel like, growing up, like I could never be good enough. I could never, anyway, I don't get too personal, but the point is, I had 2 diagnoses. I had depression and anxiety. Together, they're a really toxic combination. I won't bore you with another video, but you can Google online the effects of having depression and anxiety both, which is what I have. I had protection from that, from having, for my employer punishing me or getting fired for that, for my illness. I was on FMLA for the very reason that I had these illnesses that, that I shouldn't have been able to be fired because of those illnesses or symptoms of those illnesses. Running out of a supervisor's office is a symptom of anxiety. Having poor judgment, having unclear thinking or poor judgment and writing an email that maybe they don't think is appropriate, that can be a symptom of depression. Poor judgment, unclear thinking. all the things that they accused me of are symptoms of an illness that I supposedly had protection for. I was on FMLA. In fact, they had just requested a month earlier for me to go and get an updated thing from my doctor. And so we had a brand spanking new thing from my doctor confirming, that this is how often Diane is going to be absent. Yes, the problem is still there, just the same. Basically, my record was updated, everything. I should have had this protection, and I should not be unemployed looking at possibly losing my condo and my car and my animals and trying to find a job when there's nothing out there. So anyway, Swedish, this is getting a little too long, so I'm going to end it. I just thought I should put together something for you because you seem to have no idea whatsoever of what is in fact a medical illness. The days of calling mental health illnesses or separating them from every other illness are over. Your brain is part of your body, and if you have an illness that affects your brain, it's just the same thing as having an illness that affects your lungs or your heart or your intestines or any other part of your body. You don't have any way, you cannot be blamed for having cancer. You cannot be blamed for having an ulcer. Why can you blame somebody for having an illness like depression or anxiety? But you did. You fired somebody for that. And honestly, if I had the money, if I had the wherewithal, I would file a lawsuit against you for what you have done to me. But I don't have the money. And unfortunately, in this country, if you don't have the money, you don't really have any rights. So anyway, thank you, Swedish, for how you've rewarded me for my 11 years of service to you. I pulled United Healthcare from the brink for you. I pulled Cigna from the brink. The people that fired me at Swedish never even saw me when I was doing these things that, I did a lot of amazing things for that company, and they weren't even there to see it. They're all new employees. They didn't see anything that I did. All they saw was somebody who they just got tired of dealing with. That's the bottom line. You got tired of dealing with somebody who had an illness and was supposedly protected from exactly what you did. Shame on you. It's what I have to say to you. Shame on you. And I really hope, for the sake of the next employee that comes along with this illness, that maybe you'll learn a thing or two from dealing with my situation. It's not been a pleasure, I have to say it. The last year, you have contributed to my stress. You have contributed to delaying my recovery because I've been blamed for something I couldn't help. So really, thank you.